You split a $400 purchase into 4 payments of $100 each, and every single one barely registers. Then your bank statement arrives, and it turns out you have 12 of these running at once, stacked quietly on top of a credit card balance you were already carrying. This video is for educational purposes only. It explores documented research on consumer credit and payment behavior. It is not financial advice. Always consult a qualified professional for your specific situation. Buy now, pay later looks almost too simple to count as a financial product at all. At the checkout screen, instead of one price, you see 4 smaller numbers spread 2 weeks apart, usually with no interest attached as long as every payment lands on time. There's no paperwork that feels like a loan application, no hard credit check that feels like a credit check, just a button that turns one number into 4 smaller ones, and a receipt that looks almost identical to any other purchase. That simplicity is exactly what regulators started investigating once the totals got too large to wave off as a checkout page curiosity. In September 2022, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau published a study of 5 of the largest buy now, pay later lenders operating in the United States. The scale the researchers found was not gradual growth. It looked closer to a market appearing out of nowhere. In the Bureau's own words, the 5 firms surveyed in the report originated 180 million loans totaling over $24 billion in 2021, a near tenfold increase from 2019. Approval rates climbed right alongside that growth. 73% of applicants were approved for credit in 2021, up from 69% in 2020. Market approving more people more often. Consumer win. The Bureau's own report does not read that way. Here's how its researchers described the design of the product itself. Buy now, pay later is engineered to encourage consumers to purchase more and borrow more. As a result, borrowers can easily end up taking out several loans within a short time frame at multiple lenders. The word the regulator chose was not convenient, it was engineered. Part of what makes that stacking possible is a gap most borrowers never think to check. The report explains it directly. Because most buy now, pay later lenders do not currently furnish data to the major credit unaware of the borrower's current liabilities when making a decision to originate new loans. One lender cannot see what another lender already approved last week. Your credit card issuer cannot see it either. The debt is completely real. It is simply invisible to every institution evaluating you except the one person carrying all of it at once. And when the load stops being manageable, the Bureau measured a specific, rising consequence. 10.5% of unique users were charged at least one late fee in 2021, up from 7.8% in 2020. That was the view from the accounts. In 2023, 3 economists, Benedict Gutman-Kenny, Chris Firth, and John Gathergood, published the first academic research to examine the same behavior from inside a very different kind of ledger, in the Journal of Behavioral and Experimental Finance. Rather than survey lenders, they analyzed real, anonymized credit card transactions, roughly 1 million UK credit cards, tracked from December 2018 to September 2022. Their starting question was almost embarrassingly simple. If buy now, pay later is supposed to be a separate, interest-free way to pay, what happens when someone pays for it using a credit card instead? Their first finding was that far more people do this than anyone had ever measured. 19.5% of UK credit cards active. In December 2021, have a transaction by a BNPL firm charged to their credit card during 2021. Roughly 1 active credit card in 5, carrying at least 1 installment purchase that was supposed to be interest-free from the very beginning. The researchers were careful to note this was not only a UK pattern. Citing separate survey research on the American market, they report that in the United States, close to 22% of all buy now, pay later spending is estimated to be paid for using a credit card as well, the same loop their own transaction data was built to measure directly. At least one major American card issuer treated the risk as serious enough to act on it. Capital One, according to reporting the researchers cite, banned its cardholders worldwide from charging buy now, pay later purchases to its credit cards at all. Look closely at the size of these transactions and the barely registers feeling from the opening of this video stops being a metaphor and starts being a usual BNPL transaction is typically small, with a median value of about £20, and 96% are £100 or less. But tracked across an entire year on the same card, the total stops looking small. The median cardholder using the feature accumulated roughly £157 in buy now, pay later charges, and 17.6% have spent £500 or more. No single payment in that pattern would alarm anyone glancing at a statement. The sum of them quietly would. The growth curve matched what the American those same cards over nearly 3 years, the researchers found that the value of buy now, pay later spending on credit cards increased by a factor of 21.4 between January 2019 and December 2021, with clear seasonal spikes lining up precisely with the payment due dates that follow Black Friday and Christmas. Two other patterns in the data stand out because they describe exactly who this stacking behavior concentrates around. By age, the pattern skews sharply young. Cardholders between 18 and 49 years old accounted for 84% of all buy now, pay later transactions charged to credit cards. And geographically, the researchers found that moving from England's least to its most economically deprived local authorities was associated with meaningfully higher use of the same behavior, by their own measure, 28 to 30% higher, as measured by fraction of cards. Here is why the authors considered this worth flagging to regulators rather than filing it away as a footnote. A buy now, pay later loan is built to cost nothing beyond the sticker price, repaid over a matter of weeks. A credit card is a different species of debt entirely. As the researchers put it, transforming a 0% interest BNPL debt that amortizes over a few weeks or months into credit card debt matters, because credit cards carry typical interest rates near 20%, and for anyone making only the minimum payment, decades-long amortization schedules. An interest-free installment plan, refinanced without a second thought into one of the slowest and most expensive forms of consumer debt that exists, in the exact moment a payment. The researchers were careful about what this pattern does and does not prove. They did not claim that everyone who charges an installment plan to a credit card is in financial distress. Plenty of cardholders carry no interest at all and use the card purely to collect the rewards points. What they proposed instead was a specific testable explanation for the pattern they actually measured. One plausible model is where overconfident consumers mispredict their future ability to repay BNPL on time, and when payments come due, defer payments by charging them to their credit card. A fairly reasonable-sounding prediction about a future paycheck that, for a measurable share of borrowers, simply does not hold up when the date arrives. The same researchers were also candid that the honest verdict on all of this is not settled. Older economic models of consumption smoothing suggest that spreading a payment out at zero interest can leave a household better off, especially when prices are rising and cash is tight. Other economists studying present-focused financial decisions have modeled the opposite risk, that consumers who are unsophisticated about their own interest-free structure removes the one signal cost that would normally slow them down. Both effects can be true for different people using the identical product at the identical checkout screen. Put the regulator's numbers next to the economist's numbers, and one pattern comes into focus from two independent directions, on two different continents, using two entirely different kinds of data. A product engineered in the regulator's own chosen word to encourage more purchases and more borrowing. A structural blind spot that keeps each new installment plan invisible to every other lender evaluating the same borrower at the same time. And a real, measured tendency for that debt, once it becomes unmanageable, to migrate quietly onto the single most expensive form of consumer credit most people already carry in their pocket. None of this means buy now, pay later is a trap for everyone who has ever tapped the button. Most installment plans, by both studies' own numbers, are small, and most are repaid on schedule without a late fee or a credit card transfer ever entering the picture. What the research actually describes is a substantial and growing and financially stretched households, for whom a payment method engineered to feel almost weightless turns out to carry exactly the weight it was built to hide. The installment plan never made the true cost of anything smaller. What it changed was how many separate moments you have to notice that cost arriving, and how invisible each of those moments is to every institution involved, including, eventually, the version of you reading next month's statement in full for the first time. So here is a question worth answering honestly before you leave a comment. How many of these payment plans do you have open right now across every app and every store, and could you have named that exact number before you actually went and counted them? Next time we look at why losing money hurts measurably more than gaining the same amount feels good, and why that one lopsided little quirk of the mind sits underneath almost every fee your bank has ever charged you.